Good morning to those within and without the Federation. It's a wonderful Friday morning. It's actually the 4th day of February, and if you need to be reminded, we're actually in the Black History Month, and so for those observant, I want to wish out those who are into a very happy Black History Month. For friends of the Federation, we want to say good morning to one and all. Those who are logged on. Let's start with Rosemary Donald this morning up there in New York. It's a kind of winter wonderland. And we're here enjoying some beautiful weather. So if we understand how you feel, that's how it is. Anguilla, I know you're tuned in. Amber Richards over there. And we got Chris Collins, of course, on board. We want to say good morning to each and every one. Welcome to another episode of Voices. My name is Socrates. And we are going to have a special guest joining us by the phone today. So we're going to stand by for that connection as we pause for a word from our sponsors.
Decided what to eat yet, hon?
Yep, almost.
If only this was easy like when we switched to Flow.
Best decision ever. Combining our mobile with Flow Internet.
Saving hundreds each month on our mobile.
And getting double data to share for up to 4 lines. My ideas are the best.
Any idea when you'll make this decision?
Yeah, soon. Switch to Flow Postpaid and sign up for internet for big mobile savings and double data as low as $80 per line. Visit discoverflow.co for details. Conditions apply.
Buying your medication is easy with City Drug Store's curbside pickup. WhatsApp our certified pharmacist at 662-8769 with your requests. For prescriptions, take a clear photograph and send for review. We will engage you in dialogue and then provide a quotation and link for payment. You can then pay via TDC's online payment portal. And once the transaction is complete, you'll be notified that your pickup is ready. Yes, it's that easy. Send your WhatsApp message to 662-8769 to order your medications today with City Drug Store's curbside pickup service.
To our many viewers and listeners, once again, we want to say good morning to you around the globe. Welcome to another episode of Voices. As I mentioned earlier, we are standing by to be joined by a very distinguished gentleman, and we'll be having a discussion on issues relating to Black History Month. Sir, are you there? Sir, are you there? Are you online? Okay, well, the connection has been made. Yes, good morning. Good morning, sir. Okay, we have a little issue connecting with the gentleman who will be joining us to discuss today issues as it relates to Black History Month. So in the meantime, of course, there are those who question, and there's a very famous movie star who was saying that we don't really need Black History Month because no other races would have that. But there's a reason, because much of our history has been deliberately overlooked, and there's a lot of misinformation as to who we are, our history. So there is a month highlighted where we can, get into discussions about the various aspects of our history as a people, most people focus on what's happening in the U.S. and that history, and they see that as, the fulcrum of Black History Month, but this is something international. We have our own history here in the region, St. Kitts Nevis, around the Caribbean, that we would like to highlight from time to time. I've had discussion with educators, and in questioning them, there are many things they don't know because they were not taught that history when they were growing up, and so they couldn't pass it on to the other generation. So it's very important to be able to have this discourse. Even though it's designated for 1 month of the year, we can continue to re-educate ourselves and have a better appreciation of our people based on what we would have rediscovered. So we're standing by, as I said, to be joined by a very distinguished public servant. To really make the connection, we'll have a discourse. And I would ask our callers to hold on until we would have had the presentation by the gentleman before you make your contribution. If that can be accommodated, I'll be very much obliged. All right? We're still having a little problem connecting, but please bear with us, because this program you do not want to miss. As a matter of fact, in Sandy Point, the Heritage Society, that's the Sandy Point Heritage Society, is putting together a series of podcasts in a program called The Story of Sandy Point, in which they hope to highlight and share much of the history of Sandy Point as it relates to its importance during the, pre- and post-emancipation era under British colonial St. Kitts, and the role that it would have played. I asked a question, I think it was here last, if anybody can name a street on St. Kitts that has been replicated, here in Bastia, I would say, a street that has been replicated after Downing Street in Sandy Point. I know there are folks who have that information, so we're standing by to get a call. That also plays into our history and our contribution, the many contributions of our people to the development of not only St. Kitts Nevis, but the wider Caribbean. From the maritime commercial activities of Sandy Point, Pump Bay to be exact, lots of that is actually overlooked. We have accounting of Mr. John Newton, and he's the person accredited with singing the song Amazing Grace. We have historical document where he would have landed his slave ship. He was a slaver at Pump Bay in Sandy Point, and at least on 3 occasions, offloading a total of some 400 enslaved. I'd rather use that phrase than say slaves. Slavery is a state of mind. Persons who consider themselves slaves don't fight for their freedom. The enslaved will, because the natural state of man is to be free. That is why we have a coming of so many rebellions around the globe in the various settings where people's freedom were taken from them. They were put in bondage. They fought and died and sacrificed for their freedom, because slavery is a state of mind. It takes about 3 to 4 generations to really make a slave. You capture me today, I'm going to fight, I'm going to rebel. But folks who are actually born into that plantation culture, they know a whole lot better. And we're told that we're now joined by our guest for today. Good morning, sir. How art thou?
Good morning, and pretty well, thank you.
I'm blessed hearing that. Welcome to the studios. Well, of course, we're online of WINNFM today. If I may introduce you.
Yes,
May
please
do so?
go ahead.
Okay, okay. We are blessed today to have with us on the line a very special and honored guest in the person of the Honorable Mr. Joseph Parry, former Premier of Nevis, a minister in the Federal Parliament, and leader of the NRP, and a distinguished public servant. Good morning. The good gentleman is here to discuss with us some issues as it relates to what has been internationally recognized as Black History Month. Welcome to the airways, sir. And we will follow your lead. I'll see where you want to take the conversation as it relates to our history. So, the mic is yours, sir.
Thank you very much. A very good morning to you and a very good morning to the listeners of WINNFM. And I think it's a very important topic at a particular time like this when we are facing so many difficulties in the Caribbean and in the world. It is very, very important that we have a sense of where we came from, where we are, have that consciousness. So I'm pleased to be on the program this morning. Now, I think you indicated that you would like me to lead on the topic. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. It's a discussion, and of course, we would follow your lead because you're very well qualified to speak to this topic.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, first of all, I would say that the topic Black mentality is very wide. And I would believe that our focus should be on St. Kitts and Nevis in the first instance and on the Caribbean, because it is my belief that you can't speak of Black mentality worldwide. My own thinking is that our experiences through slavery and colonialism would have had a great effect on our mentality, on the mentality of Caribbean people and people of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Quite so.
As well as the environment and family life, etc. And I look at some of the points, and I would want to make the first observation that even today we can see remnants of the effects of the past on us in St. Kitts and Nevis. We have to look at this from the point of view that when we came to the Caribbean, when our ancestors came to the Caribbean, they were divided. They were not allowed to have a language of their own. And they were not allowed to marry. They were not allowed to form any kind of social life. And basically, they were dehumanized. And I would say this, that it left us with a feeling of inferiority, almost as if we were not human. And then you had the house slaves and you had the field slaves. And we had this pecking system where, depending on your color, you felt you were more important. All those factors are still with us today, amazingly. I must confess that at one time I fooled myself into believing that the situation was not as bad as it is, but it is there. That is not to say that we're in a hopeless position, because certainly we have made advances in many areas. But the problem of working together, of being able to cooperate, even locally, it bothers me. Let me say this. The other day I had a program about investment, and we were talking about investment as if only foreigners could invest. Mm-hmm. What about the people? What about the people of St. Kitts and Nevis? What about the people of St. Kitts and Nevis forming a company, coming together to do a business? We have the National Bank, of course, is a good example of that. We have the Bank of Nevis is a good example of that. But I'm not sure that we have grasped fully the need to work together and to look inward in terms of our development rather than looking outward.
I think the concept of local person investing is not a very popular one. You spoke about the mentality that still affects us. I think that is very much at play. Another young lady, not to interrupt, from Nevis, who was diabetic, and she thought she would create an industry where she would prepare meals for diabetics, etc., which is a very needed thing in St. Kitts Nevis. And she went to the bank to get a loan for that, and they turned it down. There are people come to the city to do business, and they are diabetic, they can't eat the food, they need to use restrooms, and she would have provided that. I can tell you that if there was somebody from overseas who came with that concept, the bank would have entertained them. So it speaks to the mentality that you're referring to. We're still very much governed in our activities by that ingrained mentality that came from the plantation.
Absolutely, and you see it in different ways too. The service. Let's take the service industry, and we have a very good example in Nevis. If you go to the Four Seasons, you're treated by your own people in a very sophisticated way. They're smiling. The service is very good, and then you leave and you meet those same people in a store or some restaurant, and the attitude is totally different. You're treated as if you're dirt, and they really don't care too much about giving you good service. And it is part of our attitude to ourselves. We feel, I believe that we have this problem whereby black people in St. Kitts and Nevis don't have the kind of respect that we need to have for each other. And I also believe that is because we ourselves have a low self-esteem. We really need to work on ourselves in terms of feeling comfortable with ourselves, with our skin, with our color, feeling that basically we are as good as anybody else, and that self-confidence will cause us to deal with people on an equal basis and give good service, etc.
We know that we were imbued or ingrained with a brainwashed with a sense of low self-esteem. We know that. Okay? How do we get around that? We're talking solutions now because we have identified a problem that has plagued us for many years. It's very evident. What is the key to change that?
It's going to take the whole society to make the change. It has to start in the home, and it has to also be practiced in the school.
In the classrooms. The earliest age.
Kindergarten. Pardon?
At the earliest stage in the classrooms, there has to be a re-education program. We've not addressed that. We have not had a conversation about slavery.
You know why we have not addressed it? Because we have kept on copying the education principles that have come down from United States, from Canada, and from England. I have been a teacher. I was a teacher many years ago. And I was amazed at the fact that we were told that the method of teaching should change to another method where you just talk. And it didn't make too much sense to me because we speak our Creole language. We talk our colloquial language.
Mm-hmm.
And you take a child into the school, and you expect the child to immediately be talking English and knowing English and understanding English. You need to understand the limitations there, and you need to almost like you're teaching a foreign language. Sorry to say that, but almost like you're teaching a foreign language, and that needs to be done very early, because you see, if a child is in fifth form and that child is struggling to understand English, that child is not able to reason, not able to analyze, and so on. Let me take you back to where I started. That we tend to copy too much. We don't create things that can be applied to our own situation here in St. Kitts and Nevis.
That is true.
And that is why quite often we are left with that mental weakness. I noticed again at the Four Seasons, you have Nevisians working there. And instead of speaking English with a Nevisian accent, they seem to believe that to speak good English you have to have an American accent.
Yep. Assimilating.
Pardon?
Assimilating.
Yes. I mean, it bothers me terribly because it also indicates our problem with our self-esteem. So, to go back what I said, in the home, and parents have to be helped and trained. Children need to be encouraged to believe in themselves, to be proud of their color, to be proud of how they look, and to speak out. And parents need to stop this business of favoring the fair child, the fair-skinned child, or saying things that will make the darker-skinned child feel less than equal. In the classroom, we need to have pictures of ourselves. We need to be promoting our heroes, because that is one of the lacking, things that are lacking. You need to talk about the heroes in St. Kitts and Nevis and get rid of the politics. We talk about Bradshaw, we talk about Southwell, we talk about Kennedy, we talk about St. Daniel. You talk about your heroes, the leaders. Don't worry about the politics. And talk about people who have been outstanding in business, people who have been outstanding in sport, people who have done things in all areas of activity in the world. And that in itself will not only cause our children to feel, to realize that they are as good as anybody else, but also would open their eyes to opportunities in life that they can pursue because others like them have done it.
Yes. So you're basically saying that we need to see ourselves reflected in positive examples of the images of our own people?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
As a former educator for many years, what do you think it will take to change that curriculum? What do we need to introduce to the Ministry of Education, culture, whatever, to change that? Because it has to start there.
Absolutely. And I'll give you, before I answer your question, I'll give you an example. When I became Premier of Nevis, I was responsible for education. And I indicated certain things that needed changing. And the people who were in education pointed me to what was being done at OECS and the different programs they had and et cetera, et cetera. And I said to myself, what do you mean? We in St. Kitts and Nevis can't
incapable.
Develop a curriculum that suits us. We have to have one from across the region, and our people don't have the creativity and originality to come up with something that suits us. It bothers me. It has to start in our society. It has to be said to the politicians, this is what we need. And then we would need to have people who have the capability to come up with programs that can fit into a policy for education. I don't think we have that movement at the moment.
Or the
we don't
will.
have that critical mass of
is the will.
To the need for that change.
We lack the will.
Pardon?
There's a lacking of the will. You must have a will. You must identify the need for and have the will to change. If not, it's just talking points.
One of the things I would suggest, we have all these talk shows in St. Kitts and Nevis, and they all are inclined towards politics and about government, the weaknesses of government, or the failures of government, and things like those. And then we have certain posts. I really feel that other persons who can make a major contribution to calling. Sometimes some of these programs need to move away from the politics and deal with the real issues in society, like what we're talking about here today. How do we create a change that leads to self-respect and self-esteem, and that leads to people who really feel that they can be creative, they can be original in their thinking. And when we go back to this and say this, I don't feel our education system does this. To be frank with you, not only do I think that our education system in St. Kitts and Nevis has failed, I think as far up as the University of the West Indies, the education system has failed. The education system at the UWI level is more concerned in getting recognition from the rest of the world and boasting that they're in the 5% of all universities and so on. But you take someone to UWI, and especially in the field of agriculture, and let them complete a degree. And you take that person or that person's brother to a university in America, and you find that the person who goes to a university in America is far more creative and has a better understanding of practical agriculture than the Caribbean graduate.
Really?
It's all theory and it's all position. But in terms of creativity and originality, that has not been
developed here?
Pardon?
Is that been developed here?
Yes. And so the education to me is the main engine that can create this change, and the home, and it's something that we need to pay attention to. But if going to take time because people's minds are influenced and people's minds are changed by what they hear on the road, what they hear on the radio, what they see on television. And so these are the avenues that we need to use to create that change.
Interesting perspective, and I believe that we are on the same page with that. But I know it's a much... Okay, we take Black History Month this month, and a lot of us give lip service to, it's more or less ceremonial. We look at the way our young people have changed, adapted to other cultures, because via the mass media, there is misinformation fed to our younger generation via the various platforms that they have in their hands. Look at the way our children dress today. Look at how some of them and some adults try to change the tone of the skin. What does that say to you?
I realize that the impact of our big brother close by is a very powerful influence on what we do and how we dress. I remember maybe 15, 20, 25 years ago when the people started to wear the pants below the bum and people started to put on a lot of clothes in this hot climate. And I observed that it came straight from America. That is the kind of influence that we have. Unfortunately for us, we are so close to the United States of America, and yet we are so small. When I go to places like Barbados and Trinidad, I see the American influence, yes, but not as powerful as it is in the Northern Leeward Islands. They still maintain some remnants of the Africanism or some remnants of the social life that they developed after slavery, etc., etc. But in a way, we have been virtually decimated, and so many of us go to the United States for holidays, so many of us go for education, and so many of us go to live and make a living, that it presents that great difficulty in maintaining what is your culture, what is your way of life, etc. So it's very, very difficult. If you come to hair and complexion and so on, it bothered me many years ago as a young person. What I can say positively, though, is that I have seen a lot of people, both men and women, who have gone back to wearing the hair naturally, being proud of how they look, using products that are Afro products or Caribbean products or native products. I use these different words to say the same thing. I feel that maybe instinctively there's a movement among us, or maybe it is the African influence, because when I see pictures and programs of Africans, South Africa, Ghana, etc., they look no different to us here in the Caribbean now. There was a time when people used to curl their hair. You remember that?
Oh, correct.
And people used to use the hot iron to straighten their hair. I don't see much of that now. I don't see much of that now. So there's that.
Well, they've gone to more. It's a more chemicalized process. It's more of a chemicalized process. And while you were at that, I want to mention that many of our young women are going to the U.S. to give birth to the children. So there's that cultural shift in what's supposed to be St. Kitts Nevis Caribbean culture. We speak about our culture, but then the first chance we get, we go to the U.S. to birth our children.
Yeah, that is a trend that continues, and I don't know how you're going to deal with it. It has a lot to do with opportunities here, our feeling that our governments, our countries are not able to develop themselves, that all the opportunities are in the United States. As a teacher, I used to tell students, because here's the problem that I had. Children would come to school but were not interested in learning because they said when they left school, they were going to go to the United States.
Really?
And I used to say to them, let me tell you something. Just remember, you're a black person going to the United States. You have more respect here. You you might be in a small pond here, but you could be a big fish here. In the States, you are a little fish or no fish at all.
Nobody.
Nobody at all.
Nobody.
And that is still my message to the people of these Caribbean islands. Let us make sure that we have the right education. Let us make sure that our politicians understand that they must serve the people. Let us make sure that we do the kind of development that give our people good opportunities to live a comfortable life.
Okay, sir. We're going to pause for a word from our sponsors now, but when we get back, I would like for you to speak to us about Afro-Caribbean family life then and now. How we live as a family, that unit that was so distinctly African as it compares to today. So we pause for a word from a sponsor, and if you can speak to us on that topic when we get back, that would be great. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Good, Jean.
What's up, girl? Talk to me.
You know I'm working hard on being even more active, right? So we're going to the TDC Home and Building Depot to get a blender, weights, a yoga mat, and a bike for Clive too.
You serious? Something keep in there?
Yes, girl, all month long. Shop in store, get 20% in savings on health and wellness products like blenders, juicers, air fryers, waist trainers, and more.
Girl, Betty, you're joking.
I don't have time for jokes. Get yourself sorted because in February we're staying active with TDC HBD.
Yes, girl.
Girl. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
Buster, roll it up, leave the thirst quencher in my cup. If you have one, hold it up and say, Buster for the colors in my life. Refreshing and nice, and I drink that what we like. Buster, you're full of vibes, living for the color. And I'm black and white, we do what we like. We live to enjoy life. Buster, pour it up, different flavor. Load it up. If you have one, hold it up and say, Buster for the colors in my life. Decided what to eat yet, hon?
Yep, almost.
If only this was easy like when we switched to Flow.
Best decision ever. Combining our mobile with Flow Internet
Saving hundreds each month on our mobile.
and getting double data to share for up to 4 lines. My ideas are the best.
Any idea when you'll make this decision?
Yeah, soon. Switch to Flow Postpaid and sign up for internet for big mobile savings and double data as low as $80 per line. Visit discoverflow.co for details. Conditions apply.
Once again, good morning. Welcome to our viewers and listeners to Voices on this platform. You're logged on to WINNFM 98.9. And we are in a discussion with former Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mr. Joseph Parry. And we're discussing issues that relates to Black History Months in the view of like West Indian life, Caribbean life, how we know it. So I've asked him a question to speak about the family unit as it was then, as compared to now. So, Mr. Parry, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm very much here. Yeah, well, I would like to tell you that there's this phrase that it takes a village to raise a child.
Mm-hmm.
I will start with that.
Beautiful.
And then I will let you know that even though in those days we had shacks and shanties and so on, people took care of each other. Your family wasn't just your mother or father. Your family was your aunt, your cousin, and even the neighbors. Everybody looked after everybody. And everybody shared with each other. Of course, it was an agrarian society where in St. Kitts you had the cane fields. In Nevis you had the little plots and fishing and so on. And when you got home, if you misbehave on the road, you paid for it when you got home with looks. If you didn't have any food, your neighbor, whoever it was
share.
They were sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was so much together. Everybody worked together, worshipped together, and we were just one big family. That came out of the pressures of slavery, of course. That is how family survive by just reaching out to each other and giving support, psychological support and physical support, etc. And it continued through post-slavery, through colonialism, and a lot of it changed as we became more prosperous economically.
Developed.
Right? Yes, as we develop.
Migration would have played a great role in that also.
Migration played a role in it, absolutely. And in this way, not because people were abroad, but when they sent things back home, people found themselves able to eat well and were better off. Mind you, at the very beginning, they used to share, when one person got stuff from whether the Virgin Islands or the United States of America, they gave their families and they gave their neighbors, etc., etc.
Quite so.
All that helped. But as people got better jobs, as some families find themselves advancing, as people got education and so on, the individualism became more prevalent than that family village structure. And it is today you can see it in that it's the mother and the father, the children. That is what is concerning to people. You send a person to university, they come back, instead of advancing the society, instead of being involved in local issues and
yes, social development.
How to help the community, how to get involved in cricket or netball or whatever. It's all about themselves, and it's all about family. Very individualistic. Even in politics, when I was in sixth form, we used to have all kinds of discussions about politics in university. Nobody's talking about that. Everybody's looking after themselves. Everybody's making sure that they're safe, and the rest of the community can go to hell. That is very unfortunate, but this is where we have gone. How do you change that? How do you to get us back? I can't tell you, because it's so difficult to go back. It's so difficult to make changes once a society moves in a particular direction.
Correct. When I call it development, and but a lot of folks, we look back. People of my age and others look back and speak about the good old days, the family life, the family unit that you were just describing. And the poverty, a lot of folks didn't really see ourselves as being poor because you had enough to share with your neighbors.
I agree with you. I grew up, I never thought I was poor.
There is it. But we due to migratory patterns, some going and coming, our cultures gradually changed, not for the better. I think that because we've not had any conversation, not in isolation, but any concerted effort to have a conversation about the impacts on our psyche of slavery. We have not really addressed our problem. We move on, we assimilate into other cultures, and that is why today our young people are bleaching their skin, wearing all these weaves to look like the other person, and no respect for yourself. You talk about self-hate. It's really self-hate.
Well, yes, I agree with you in terms of self-hate, but what I would say, I'm agreeing with you, and I also think that you're absolutely right that we never got a chance, and we were never educated to have self-respect or to elevate ourselves as a people.
And understand why we do certain things.
Yeah, I think though that if you can try to think about that from education perspective, and this has to be driven by the community. This has to the people, voluntary organizations of like-minded people who believe in blackness, people who believe in the Caribbean and believe in Caribbean people who believe that we have connections with Africans. Those people are going to have to be active in the community to create that change, because it's not going to come from government. It's not going to, what you can do with education is to have books, stories about
Nothing about our
talking
people.
Columbus coming here anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't tell you anything about us. It doesn't tell you anything about who we are, how we got here, how we survived, what we can do to make our place a better place, and so on. And so people are going to have to write. We are talking person. We have to write. People are going to have to write about issues. Hansel Manners. I don't know if you know Hansel Manners.
Yes, I do.
Hansel Manners wrote a book there about Gingerland. I thought it was very good.
Is it in the school curriculum?
The pardon?
Has it been adopted as part of the school's
No,
curriculum?
No, he just published it.
Mm-hmm.
Just released it.
Okay.
But I'm saying a book like that could be very useful in the school curriculum.
Instrumental, yeah.
For the early learners, like from grades 1 to 6, so that they could know, they can have an idea of where we came from, the type of life that we live, and that we didn't have a life of privilege. And those, in a way, we have spoiled them, because my generation, and maybe your generation, made sure that the children did not have to do the chores that we did.
Of course.
Have to be exposed to hard life, etc. That was, in a way, took away the discipline, the bad discipline that we have, and the problem that we have. We created those problems because we were being trained and we were being disciplined, but we didn't know that. And that has not been passed on to our children.
This whole thing about disciplining our children has been changed by a UN convention. It's a UN convention that we sign on to that you can no longer discipline children in the school. And because we have a generation now who don't know exactly where they're coming from, it is no longer in the home. And so we find when we see certain patterns of behavior on the street, we can trace it back to the fact that discipline, and we accept that there's a thin line between discipline and abuse. We know the difference. But we sign on to a convention that we can no longer discipline our children in the school and in the home.
Okay, well, let me say, I'm going to speak about discipline in two ways. In the first instance, discipline in terms of waking up at mornings, doing chores. Afternoon, you come home, you have chores.
Beautiful.
You're having some responsibility in the house and so on.
Yes.
Being respectful to people, with your neighbors, etc. Learning to play sports without getting into too many fights, etc. And then the other discipline, which is physical discipline. Now, I will be very frank with you. I didn't like physical discipline.
I didn't like it either.
Because sometimes I wonder what the teachers are beating me for, I was doing my best. I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
But listening to stories from the United States of America and from Africa, because I've been following the African situation, I noticed that there was a commonality in terms of disciplining children. Not abusing them, disciplining them.
Mm-hmm.
It worked and helped us to be better people. We have been heavily influenced by the liberal thinking that came out of Europe and North America. And when you look at their children are not at all disciplined. The children do as they like.
They divorce their parents.
And the black children in America are doing as they like as well.
They've adopted that policy.
In gangs, etc., etc.
Yeah.
We still have some element of discipline here, but we should be able to discipline our children without abusing them. I don't support abuse. And if children are being abused, the parents should be dealt with.
Of course.
If teachers are abusing children, they should be dealt with. But I can't tell you of any teacher who abused me or who I really saw abusing anybody at school. Yeah, I didn't like the beating. But I think I am the better for it in the end.
We are suffering from that lack of conversation as to how the enslavement has affected our people. As Sparrow said, I was kicked off on the street, no education, no particular ambition from the white man had to steal. We've not had a concerted effort to re-educate our people. Example, the West Indian male is seen as a womanizer, having 10, 15 women, children, etc., etc. How did that come about?
Well, it started again because our social structure was broken down in slavery. Remember, males were used as breeders.
Correct.
And Yeah, men were used as breeders and women were used as breeders. And then in addition to that, the white men also took advantage of them.
Yes.
There was no encouragement of family because you never knew when a slave was going to be sold, when a slave was going to be rented out, etc., etc. And somewhere along the line, the fact that the black man was the most vigorous sexual object, we as black people bought into it.
Mm-hmm.
And that continues today in that sometimes we see women as sexual objects rather than as people.
That was created on the plantation. They say we need to forget about that because slavery ended so long ago. But until you have that conversation, you will not be able to explain that habit.
Well, we need to educate our men. And again, unfortunately, I believe women can do a better job than men because they are mothers and the children, they take care of the children up to the age of 12, I think, and then they begin to have problems. We need to educate our children in that they're all human people, and just like you respect your mother and your sister, you need to respect every other woman. And women, too, have to be educated in that they must not elevate their men, their boys, who go out there and get children while they have their girls left away at home, because that's what happens, you know. We need to understand that we treat them as people, as humans, and that we have to respect each other. How is that going to be done? Again, you speak about having a conversation. It's a societal change. And you can't depend on politicians to do it. You can't depend on the schools to do it. It has to be a community effort. It has to be a community effort.
The Rastafarian community, to a very large extent, has embarked on that from way back. But they were stigmatized, ostracized, and laughed at. But they had this sense of family that they tried to imbue into others, but they were laughed at. So there's a group of people who saw that, the need for that, and actually started it.
I didn't get that point. Say it again.
The Rastafarian community, going back so many years, have sought to bring that sense of family and respect for the mother, the children, etc., to our people, but they were stigmatized and laughed at. You spoke about politicians will not take the lead, but I'm saying the Rastafarians, to a very large extent, introduced that as a new way of life.
Okay, I unfortunately I can't comment on that.
Okay. It's my point of view, so we understand. We have a discussion, so we don't have to agree on everything, but I know that they, by a certain lifestyle, spoke about the respect for the family.
Mm-hmm.
Raising the family in a particular way that were more African-esque than European.
Well, I have a difficulty here. I'm not sure where you're going, but let me say my opinion. I don't believe, for instance, that a man should have several wives. I have never subscribed to that. I don't know how some people have been able to make it work, and I admire those people who have been able to make it work. But I see problems because if you have 3 women in a household, there's going to be fighting and squabbling and all kind of things, etc., etc. I believe in the husband and wife. I believe, and that's a Western thing, as far as I know, but I believe in it. And I believe it can work once we aspire towards it. I don't know if we are ready to aspire towards it, because the remnants of slavery are still with us, and our men still seem to feel that they need to have 5, 10 women, etc., to prove a point. I don't know what point they want to prove. I'm going to flip the scene. I believe the Indians are more sexually active than black men.
I've read Kama Sutra.
Because I didn't hear some people who heard me. A few people here laughing when they heard me say that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear what you said. Sorry.
I said I've read Kama Sutra.
Yeah. So I think it's a myth that the black man is superior sexually to other men in the world.
There are tons of people around the world who will disagree with you, but that's just a matter of opinion. But in certain African cultures, you do have it. the aspect of the king with 3, 4 wives, etc. Africa is vast. So it's not the same all over, but that's part of African culture. Certain parts of Africa, you find that culture very, very prominent. In the Bible, Solomon, King David, etc. So it's not a new concept. So I understand it's a Western thing, and you respect it. I understand that, but it's part of the human experience overall.
Well, I don't read.
We're losing you, sir. And
I'm talking too soft. Can you hear me now?
I can hear now. We're about to break for the midday newscast, so we have about a minute to wrap up, please.
Yeah, I was just saying that I enjoy reading Samuel and the Kings, and I found David and Solomon, his son, very interesting characters. I would like to be there to see how they manage the situation. But I know he's got his wife Michael giving some hard words when he was dancing in the street. And I see in fact, if you read King David carefully, you see a lot of problems that he wasn't able to control his children,
I know.
No control over his children.
I know.
Yeah, so, no, you want me to wrap up?
Yes, please, because we're going to break for the midday newscast momentarily.
Okay, let me be very brief. I'm very happy, first of all, to be able to speak today on this matter. It's a wide topic, and it's a deep topic, and it can be handled in 1 hour.
That is true.
Definitely, we have to appreciate that we have a long way to go in terms of coming to terms with ourselves as black people and as human beings. That we are as good as anybody else. I'm not going to say better than anybody else, but we are as good as anybody else, and we have proved it. Our history has been stolen from us. The African history has been stolen from Africans. So what we need to do is to re-educate ourselves in that direction, to know what our people achieve both locally, regionally, and in Africa. And that, in a way, would help us to feel ourselves not only as human beings, but as human beings equal to anybody, to those who created Shakespeare and Voltaire and so on, that we have a history as good as theirs, and we are who we are. And that we can make this Caribbean a strong place for all of us to live comfortably and to live happily. In terms of the culture, the trends that are taking place, trends come and trends go. So let's keep working on that. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so very much, sir. And we are just on the cusp of the news, midday news, so I'm going to give you some comments after, but thank you very much. Quick note, anyone have their vehicles parked in College Street, got your axe to move it because the rain seems very threatening. Anyone have their vehicles parked in College Street, please go move it right away, as you may lose it based on what our colleges had. So we pause for the midday newscast, and we'll be right back after that episode.
You found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
We now bring you the headline news. The headline news is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery, and National Bank.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Till you walk with a low reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we got you covered. 130 years in this business, we've got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 466-9595. 1 or 469-5303. Delia Walwyn, people you can trust.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Stop standing in long ATM lines to withdraw cash. Use your national debit or black cards to complete a wide variety of transactions at supermarkets, variety stores, gas stations, pharmacies, and more. Shop online at the most popular websites and stores for quality brands using your national debit or black cards. And take back your time to enjoy all the things that you love to do. Remember, instead of waiting in long ATM lines to withdraw cash, use your national bank cards today.
National Bank, always here.
With the WIN Headline News, I am Kevon Brown.
I am Yolanda Weeks.
And I am Devon Cornelius.
Making the headlines, CONCACAF says they were not consulted in the appointment of new St. Kitts and Nevis Football Association director.
World Cancer Day. Individuals are encouraged to play their part in reducing cancers.
Sniper and NYPAAB to establish relationship, official signing ceremony slated for February 5th.
Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, the Honorable Gaston Brown, outlines efforts to reduce inflation in the country. Internationally, the United States says the leader of ISIL has been killed in an operation by special forces in northwest Syria. Now, the details. Controversy continues centered around the St. Kitts and Nevis Football Association's newest appointment of Ahmed Mohamed, the former technical director in the Barbados Football Association. According to an article on the Guardian newspaper, Mohamed was accused of sexually assaulting and harassing female players in Barbados during his tenure. 27 players from the senior women's team signed a letter urging the Barbados Football Association to investigate claims made by one of their teammates against Mohamed. In February 2021, the Barbados Football Association issued a notice indicating that the association and a staff member parted ways following a thorough investigation into misconduct allegations made by a female player against the unnamed staff member. This morning, an article on Barbados Today said that Randy Harris, president of the Barbados Football Association, said he had no knowledge of several allegations published in The Guardian against Mohamed while employed in Barbados, and promised the Barbados Football Association would have to investigate the claims. Additionally, a letter reaching WIN's news desk from CONCACAF, addressed to Tichelle McLean, the General Secretary of the St. Kitts and Nevis Football Association, stated that, quote, "With extreme surprise and concern, we have noted that the St. Kitts and Nevis Football Association, through various mediums, has affirmed that CONCACAF was consulted in relation to the hiring process of Mr. Ahmed Mohamed as Technical Director of the St. Kitts and Nevis Football Association. In this respect, we want to unequivocally reaffirm and stress, as we have done in recent days, that no one in the CONCACAF administration was or has been consulted in relation to the engagement of Mr. Mohammed with the St. Kitts Nevis Football Association. CONCACAF takes the allegations against Mr. Mohammed extremely seriously and have duly noted that FIFA will look into the matter. End quote. The letter was signed by Philippe Moggio, General Secretary of CONCACAF. WinFM's news team attempted to confirm whether McLean from the St. Kitts Nevis Football Association received the letter but was unsuccessful at news time. Like the St. Kitts Nevis Football Association's president, General Secretary McLean also stated that the association did their due diligence earlier this week.
Now, with reference to the allegations against Mr. Mohammed, what I want to say, when you're doing or hiring anybody, you will have to do your due diligence check.
All right.
Now, when we did our due diligence check, CFU, CONCACAF, and FIFA, which are our associates, they came in or they sent their response and gave high accolades when it comes to us hiring Mr. Mohammed to lead our technical department as director of football, not as the technical director,
said McLean to the host of Freedom's Issues, E.K. Flanders. Mohammed is in Anguilla with the St. Kitts women's team, who beat their host 3-0 in a friendly on Thursday, February 3rd, and has another match on Saturday, February 5th, to end their two-game warm-up series against the Anguilla women's national team.
World Cancer Day is celebrated on February 4 and is a global uniting initiative led by the Union for International Cancer Control, UICC. World Cancer Day 2022 to 2024 is being celebrated under the theme Close the Care Gap. In commemoration of World Cancer Day, the Essence of Hope Breast Cancer Foundation issued a statement via social media calling on all individuals to play their part in the fight against cancer. Quote, by raising worldwide awareness, improving education, and catalyzing personal, collective, and government action, we are all working together to reimagine a world where millions of preventable cancer deaths are saved and access to life-saving cancer treatment and care is equitable for all, no matter who you are or where you live. This World Cancer Day, we recognize the power of knowledge. We know that every single one of us has the ability to make a difference, large or small, and that together we can make real progress in reducing the global impact of cancer. End quote. The Essence of Hope Breast Cancer Foundation is calling on each individual to play their part in creating a cancer-free world. Public Relations Officer of the Essence of Hope Breast Cancer Foundation, Mr. Marcus Natter, shared some of the ways that persons can help in this regard. Quote, we first of all always advocate for a healthy lifestyle, and that means incorporating good nutrition with exercise. So we continue to promote the eating of healthy foods, especially local produce, which tends to be a lot healthier as it has not traveled long distances and not been exposed to chemicals or preservatives and these sort of things. End quote. NATA also encouraged businesses and organizations to reach out to the Essence of Hope Breast Cancer Foundation to host awareness sessions with members of staff about breast cancer and cancer in general.
The St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association SCNIPA and the National Youth Parliament Association of Antigua and Barbuda NYPAAB will officially establish a relationship when both associations sign a joint agreement at an official virtual ceremony on Saturday, February 5th, 2022. The signing of the joint agreement will seek to establish, among other things, a committee to govern the affairs of and give guidance to the agenda of SCNIPA and the NYPAAB, joint debates along with any other agency that may be added to the agreement, and standing orders to state the rules and regulations that govern the conduct of parliamentary debates within the Parliament of Antigua and Barbuda and the National Assembly of St. Kitts and Nevis. SCNIPA and the NYPAAB signed an agreement of mutual cooperation in December 2019, which supports the political, developmental, and ideological positions that either entity may adopt once it is in the interest of the betterment of young people in the respective countries, the OECS region, or the world at large. The joint agreement will be signed by President of SCNIPA, Muriel Knight, and President of the NYPAAB, Kamali Mannix. The ceremony will begin at 6:30 p.m. and will be streamed live on the Facebook pages of both associations. The National Youth Parliament Association of Antigua and Barbuda was established on October 25, 2019, with the aim to provide young people with a platform to advocate on youth and national issues while fostering public speaking, legislative drafting, parliamentary debate, and civic engagement. The St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association is a non-profit, non-governmental, non-partisan youth organization in St. Kitts which is geared towards being the voice for youth in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. SCNIPA was launched on September 13, 2001 under the motto Equality and Justice in Nation Building.
In regional news, Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, the Honorable Gaston Brown, outlines efforts to reduce inflation in the country. ABS Antigua has that report.
The increased price of imports during the pandemic was not unique to Antigua and Barbuda, nor was it as a result of any policies or actions taken by my government.
Prime Minister Honorable Gaston Brown makes it clear price increases resulting from COVID-19's impact on global supply chains were inevitable.
Workers in farms could not work, therefore food production dropped. Workers in factories could not work, therefore manufacturing severely declined. Ships could not ply the seas to transport goods because sailors were afflicted with COVID and ships were unable to sail. All of this created a shortage of goods worldwide. And as we all aware, when goods are in short supply, the prices are increased.
The government, he says, implemented several measures to keep the increase to a minimum.
It is the subsidies that we have in place that would have kept prices down. Failing that, prices probably would have been, or inflation would have been in the region of about maybe 4.5%.
He highlights the government's intervention on rising pricing for petroleum products.
We absorbed $32 million in the increase in petroleum prices to maintain the costs. So rather than transferring those increase in pricing to the consumer, the government reduced its taxes.
PM Brown says as COVID-19 vaccines became more accessible, prices globally began to fall.
The price of a 40-foot container dropped by 15% since September of last year. So we're moving in the right direction. And second, the logjam of containers, while still above the pre-COVID levels, was beginning to reduce.
Rakib Aparisi reporting for ABS News.
We now bring you these international reports.
This horrible terrorist leader is no more.
In an address to the nation from the Roosevelt Room of the White House, U.S. President Joe Biden spoke about the operation he ordered that killed the ISIL leader Abu Ibrahim al-Hashimi al-Qurashi.
And I directed the Department of Defense to take every precaution possible to minimize civilian casualties. Knowing that this terrorist had chosen to surround himself with families, including children, we made a choice to pursue a special forces raid at a much greater risk than to our own people, rather than targeting him with an airstrike.
As U.S. Special Forces moved in, the ISIL leader reportedly detonated an explosive.
In a final act of desperate cowardness, he chose to blow himself up, taking several members of his family with him.
The mission happened Thursday in northwestern Syria in Idlib province. Residents on the ground said at least 13 people, including children, were killed in the operation. The Pentagon said there were no troop casualties.
Mr. President,
Biden, his vice president, and national security advisors oversaw the mission from the Situation Room of the White House. It was the biggest U.S. raid in Syria since the 2019 operation that killed ISIL leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi.
This operation was literally months in the planning.
The U.S. targeted the ISIL leader for threats he allegedly posed to U.S. interests and crimes committed in Iraq in 2014, including the enslavement of Yazidi women. The raid comes a week after the defense secretary ordered the U.S. military to do more to protect civilians in combat operations, often largely forgotten in the West.
For Syrians, maybe the only silver lining of this is it has brought back media's attention to the conflict in Syria. It seems from their perspective that no one really cares. So one advantage, in a sense, is that this has now brought Syria back into the news.
Despite efforts to limit casualties, some members of Congress are now calling for an investigation into the civilian deaths to ensure that every reasonable step was taken to protect innocent lives. Kimberly Helkett, Al Jazeera, the White House.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said on Thursday he won't send in troops to push back at protesters who've been fighting a vaccine mandate for nearly a week. For now, cross-border truckers are required to be vaccinated against COVID-19. More than 200 vehicles blockaded downtown roads in the capital, Ottawa, over the weekend, bringing traffic to a standstill. A few people were seen holding Nazi flags, harassing minorities, and threatening reporters. Protest organizer Tamara Lick said demonstrations won't stop until all mandates come to an end. She told a news conference, quote, "Our movement has grown in Canada and across the world because common people are tired of the mandates and restrictions in their lives that now seem to be doing more harm than good." Organizers say drivers plan to hold similar protests in Toronto and Quebec City later this week. Quebec Premier François Legault said authorities would not tolerate any violence.
In many cities in America, gun violence is on the rise, including in New York, where thousands of police officers lined the streets to say goodbye after 2 officers were shot to death in an ambush. The gun used to kill the officers was a Glock 45, equipped with an illegal modified drum magazine that could hold 50 rounds. Joe Biden was in New York on Thursday, touring communities on the front lines of gun violence. America's murder rate has jumped nearly 30% in recent years, and gun sales have soared since the start of the pandemic. In the U.S., more than 30 police officers have been shot so far this year. Biden toured New York's police headquarters, where he rejected calls from some in his party to rein in police spending.
The answer is not to defund the police. It's to give you the tools, the training, the funding to be partners. That's why I called on the Congress to pass a budget later this year that provides cities like New York and others with an additional $300 million for community policing.
But already the budget of the New York Police Department, the largest in the U.S., is $10 billion a year.
If we start defining public safety, though, in terms of how much money we spend on policing, that's the wrong approach. We should be asking for metrics that measure community well-being, safety, school attendance, employment, all the things that we care about in a neighborhood should be the way we define safety, not simply how much we're spending on policing or how many officers there are in the city.
On Thursday, President Biden announced new initiatives to try to slow down gun violence, including the launching of 5 illegal gun task forces meant to try to stop the flow of illegal guns traveling between different states. New York's Mayor Eric Adams points to the so-called Iron Pipeline, the name given by law enforcement to a loose connection of highways from the southern U.S. to the northeast, used by gun smugglers to move weapons.
We're going to break and destroy the Iron Pipeline that allows southern states in this country
to produce weapons that end up on the streets and take the lives of our police officers.
But community advocates say Biden and Adams' policies just focus on more police.
We can't over-police communities, particularly communities of color, and think that this is going to be the solution. It's short-sighted. It's an old practice and tactic that Adams, the mayor, wants to take on. And it really focuses on incarcerating or bringing those policing tactics into mostly communities of color.
Everyone agrees the violence needs to stop. The question is only how best to do it. Gabriel Ozondo, Al Jazeera, New York.
You were listening to the Win FM headline news on 98.9. Our top stories were: CONCACAF says they were not consulted in the appointment of new St. Kitts and Nevis Football Association director.
World Cancer Day. Individuals are encouraged to play their part in reducing cancers.
Sniper and NYPAAB to establish relationship, official signing ceremony slated for February 5th.
Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, the Honorable Gaston Brown, outlines efforts to reduce inflation in the country. Internationally, the United States says the leader of ISIL has been killed in an operation by special forces in northwest Syria. Thank you for listening.
That was the Win FM Headline News. The Headline News is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, The Grange, KDP Enterprises, Carib Brewery, and National Bank.
Did you know that National Bank offers very favorable terms and low interest rate to switch your home mortgage? Or in-house legal department will process your mortgage in a jiffy and free of cost. Switch your home mortgage now and get a peace of mind knowing that we are here for you. National Bank, always here.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built, non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts? It's situated at Otley's, 7 miles east of Basseterre in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodations to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020. Fax 466-8221 or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
With over a century of perfection behind the Mackeson name, a smooth blend with perfect balance and richness, it's no wonder Mackeson Triple Stout has a legacy of perfection. Enjoyed the world over. Introducing our new look with the same great taste. Mackeson. All hail the king.
Please drink responsibly.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Till you walk with a low reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we got you covered. 130 years in this business, we've got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-2631 or 469-5303. Delia Walwyn, people you can trust.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world, whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous. You can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International. By land, sea or air, we get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises at 466-9595.
Found the sound 98.9 FM.
Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to the second half of today's installment of Voices. My name is Socrates, and I've been sitting in the chair, and this morning we had a very interesting discussion with the former Premier of Nevis, Mr. Joseph Parry, and we were talking about issues that relates to Black History Month. We spoke about the mentality of our people, the change in family life and customs and traditions that reflected the practice of raising a village, raising a child, and the need for having a conversation about our past, the things that we do that we've not really examined as to why we do certain things, the impact of migration on our people, the impact on our people by development, how things have changed over the many years. A very timely conversation. He spoke of himself as being a former educator, still educator, but when he taught in school, about the challenges. We spoke about discipline, how it was then and now, the changes he would have observed over the years. And we want to thank him very much for his contribution to the national discourse. Just before we broke for the midday newscast, there was a call from a concerned citizen about persons, well, he wanted me to warn persons who would have had their vehicles parked in College Street gut to go and move them because the gut is running. I had a look out the window sometime a few minutes ago and realized that it's actually raining out there. So the guts, as he indicated, are running. So folks who would have had their vehicles parked in that vicinity, they're asked to be mindful of what can happen. We recall some years ago, we lost some 83 vehicles that was actually washed down due to flash flooding, or, the embankment, we're told, broke up in the mountainside, the water just came down. Unfortunately, we lost a life on that day also. So one has to be mindful. We've seen a sign that says, do not park in the guts during the well, I won't say dry season, because rain comes sometime. We don't even know when it's coming. People park there because it's a convenience. We've seen so many yellow lines around the city that makes it difficult to find parking spaces. So people park there. But you are at the risk of losing your vehicle when such things happen. There was a joke some years ago where Fergie, who was the first host of Voices, was in studio doing a live broadcast. And he got a call from Granny saying to him, well, Fergie, you need to warn the people that the gut is running, rain is falling, and their vehicles, yeah. And Fergie said, I can't substantiate that. A guy out there saying, listen, it's raining, people may lose their vehicles, have people come and, at least announce it, and Fergie responds from in the story that I can't substantiate. He was right. He could substantiate the fact that rain was falling and people can lose their vehicles, but you got a call from the public, you respond and you give out the warning, like I did this morning. So yes, this morning's session, we did not entertain any calls because they wanted Mr. Parry to be able to make his presentation uninterrupted, and I want to thank the folks who allowed that to go through. So the numbers to call if you want to engage in the conversation, and as I speak, there is a call online. Caller, welcome to the program. You're live on Voices. Good day, caller. You are live on Voices.
Hello.
Good day, sir. How are you?
Hi. Good afternoon, the King.
Good afternoon, sir.
Back then, Foggy could not have substantiated because rain was falling, yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
But what I cannot substantiate is what our former Premier of Nevis, Mr. Parry, said,
Mhm.
I can substantiate.
Let's hear you.
I was to put some context or give a little summary.
Mm-hmm.
I would start off from the optimism that he spoke about. Persons are waking up.
Mhm.
Was the way they hair, the natural hair. You spoke about persons are lightening their skin.
Mhm.
Persons probably are waking up towards not lightening their skin anymore because the type of chemicals they're using, with the rate. I think today is World Cancer Day also.
Yes, it
So
is.
It
It
ties
is.
into our consciousness and that our persons are waking up. He's touched on so many things that are profound. If I was to take what he said, in which there are many, our education system. And the King, I have been relentless because we need to be re-educated. Our school curricular system. A former politician always said to me, Africa, the government have to see fit that you be put into the schools. You have to reach the young minds, mold the young minds. And not just only me one, but those are the type of commendations I get
Mm-hmm.
in terms of persons like, good afternoon, Mrs. Henry.
Sister Henry, hope you're listening. Good afternoon.
A useful work in terms of that. But it reminds me of a song that Bob Marley sang. Bob Marley sang a song about the wine press. I think the name of it is the wine press.
Shredding on the wine press must too long.
Go back to Bob Marley song, listen to the wine press.
Mm-hmm.
And how our minds can be counterproductive. We, ourselves, let's start from ourselves. How we can be so much of a danger towards the village that once raised the child. Yeah. Because of the intent of the others to re-educate us. You know what I mean? From who we really are, because it's carried on from one generation to the next, and as a part of getting us into their mold. Yes. Macaulay, the Macaulay letter comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get these people to see the values, the British values, the way we speak, everything, the British values, we will wear 6 pieces of clothes, 8 pieces of clothes in a
In the blazing
95
sun.
degrees temperature
Mm-hmm.
in the tropics. That's how deep our psyche got, warped into who we are not. And there's some of the things the former Premier touched on. There's so many things that he touched on. One last thing I want to talk about what he touched on is the polygamy.
Yes.
Yeah, polygamy, he made the example with David. It was not always so, where Absalom actually drove David out of the city of Jerusalem or Jerusalem because Absalom wanted to assert and assume
The
the
throne. Yeah.
Yes, that is where the children of the many wives started to compete for who is going to be the heir to the throne.
But it was said to him that the sword will not depart his house.
You cast lots in what we call Ifa or Afa. You cast lots, and the selected one of that family would have been there. Not to say me and you, King, that are siblings, would not have our role. We do have our role in other areas, but when it comes to the kingship, someone of our siblings would have been, and we would have respected that.
Certainly.
You want to say something?
No, I was saying that it was said to David that the sword will not depart his house. So it wasn't about the polygamy. It was about his conduct with Bathsheba.
Yeah, it wasn't about that, but I tell you, it crept into the mothers that they would have, something crept into some of the wives that they would have wanted their son, who was not to be the king, over the other one who was to be the king. And I tell you that our adversaries, when they came into our space, they saw that weakness. They saw that weakness and they used it to our advantage, and that is how we fell.
To their advantage.
Because you and I, King, we're speaking as men here, but they're always in our corner, be it our grandmother or mother, if we marry, our wife, if we have a girlfriend, and so forth. But having a girlfriend was far-fetched because if we weren't a certain age, that would have been out of it, having a girlfriend. You would have come a certain age and then they would have seen somebody fit to raise that child when you become a man to get a child. So, manhood,
Yes.
womanhood also was something that the sisters would have been groomed from the elder mothers. Don't do and do not. Do and not to do. It was towards us, the men, and towards the women also, our sisters. So we were always in good hands when our mothers. In fact, the very seat, the throne that we sit on, was a masculine aspect. That woman advice. You and I, King, we don't normally we go to a doctor, but that caring woman in your life will say, go to the doctor, get a checkup. You keep complaining about you're not feeling good. I don't want you ain't feeling good in my bed. When I'm ready for bedtime, I want you to be at tip-top shape. Go to the doctor. You understand the King?
I got you covered. Got you.
But he come right back down to the village that raised the child. And Mr. Parry has said it so good. I can substantiate what he said. Thanks for listening.
Okay, Fergie. The numbers to call are 466-0989, 662-0989, 762-0989, and for further field to the UK to be precise, 0333-044-0065, and we take this call. Caller, you're live on Voices.
Good day. Good afternoon, the King.
Good afternoon to you, sir. How art thou?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Beautiful. Well, I got my blessings first, so I'm okay.
Listen, I just want to say good afternoon to all hearing my voice. And yes, this is Journey.
Yes, Journey.
The King.
Sir.
Let me say to our people that the era of emotions, we are no longer in the era of emotion. We are in the era of the ether. That's E-T-H-E-R. Let me say good afternoon to our elder, Mrs. Henry. I hope she's listening. We're in the era of the ether, which means the spirit. We're in the era of the spirit. Now, let me just take you back to some years back when we lost George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and all of the Africans in the diaspora of America who lost their lives through gunshots. And by whom? Aubrey, the father and son who is now incarcerated for taking Aubrey's life.
Yes.
Let us look at these people who have been taking our people's life. I refer to them as the antithesis of the black man. Today, our DNA are being reactivated, the King. Believe it or not, there's a global awakening that is on the horizon. Because the earth is cleansing itself from the wickedness that was poured out upon our people. We now have to unplug from the narrative of the Leviathans. And yes, I know most people don't like to hear the word Leviathan, but the Bible itself speaks about the Leviathan. You can find it in the book of Revelation. And if you know what the word Leviathan means, well,
educate us.
Your own research.
Educate us.
So the King, I want our people to realize that the earth is cleansing itself. You see, those who are ruling the world, they know the time when to throw things at us, like words and figures. They give us words to name certain events that is happening, like they give us global warming, climate change, when we have in certain, catastrophes that are happening. Well,
are these not real?
I would like these people who are so quick to give words. How about them saying this is judgment? You and I know of the genocide that was poured out against the chosen people of God. Because believe it or not, the King, when the book say, the covenant was made with Abraham, and it says, if a man can number the sand on the seashore or the stars in the heaven, your seed can be numbered. When we look at the world today and we ask ourselves, which race of people is the majority as to who is the minority? And this is the point I want to drive home to our people. Let us look at those who are killing us today. And yes, black have been killing black too, but let us go before black, because we were united as one before they broke us. The more they are killing us today, the king, do your own research, is the less they are seeing of themselves. Let me repeat that. The more they are killing us, the more they can kneel on in our neck and killing us, is the less they are seeing of themselves. I want our people to think about this. So you see, they gave us this thing they call heaven and hell in the black book that we read. Fear, false evidence appearing real. The God, the creator of life, life is eternal. The body dies, but the spirit lives. So life is eternal. This thing about heaven and hell, well, the earth is not going to be destroyed, as the book tells us about heaven and hell. Life is eternal. The creator of life is eternal. So life does not cease to exist. I mean, look at how they've been killing us. By the millions. Today they are kneeling down our neck. They are pulling a taser, a gun in the form of a taser. And then we're supposed to accept all these wickedness by these people. The king, you and I are in the tourism business. And to many, I might sound like I'm racist, but I'm not. I like to call out the wickedness as it fits. Plain and simple. There's nothing about being racist here. The truth that they hid from us, it's available now. And I want our people to wake up. Now, I'm going to finish now, the king.
Please.
There's a change on the continent of Africa, in the country of Mali, where the president Assim is kicking out France out of Mali. France is raking 500 billion euros out of the francophone countries annually every day. And let me repeat this, because I said it before. That $500 billion can eradicate poverty on the continent. The UN is silent about it, and they knows about it. The head of the African Union, a gentleman by the name of Faki Mohammed, he is silent about it because he's a puppet for France. France wanted to bring in 15 European countries on the continent to strengthen his grip on the continent of Africa to maintain $500 billion annually. Our people need to wake up, because this war is against us, the black race. Make no mistake about it, the king. I just want to cause awareness to our people that what goes on the continent of Africa, it is detriment to us in the Caribbean. Our birthright is on the continent of Africa, and they have told us, the king, there's a lot of dirty politics in the book that we read, and we need to see the text that is playing out in our reality.
Okay, sir.
Thank you for hearing me.
Thanks once again for your contribution as we take this pause to pay kudos to our sponsors.
Get your property properly covered today. Constructing your dream house or considering renovating your property? We will make sure your property is properly covered at Guardian General Insurance. Yes, at Guardian General Insurance, we will ensure that your property is properly covered with our private dwelling and contractors all-risk promotion. Visit or call us today and get affordable rates, premium financing arrangements. From now until March 31st, 2022, we will properly cover fire, lightning, explosion, thunderbolt, bursting or overflowing of water tanks and apparatus pipes, burglary, theft or larceny, impact by road vehicle, riot, strike or malicious damage, hurricane, earthquake or volcanic eruption, flood, collapse due to subsidence of landslip, loss of rent, cost of temporary accommodation, and much more. So get your property properly covered at SL Horsford and Company Limited, local agents for Guardian General Insurance today. Special terms and conditions apply.
Call today at 869-465-9355 for further details.
Here are your Horsford's Value Mart IG Value Club Blue Tax Special.
Running January 27th to February 9th.
Almond Breeze Milk, $8.99. Del Monte Fruit Cups, $12.99. Skippy Peanut Butter, $12.99. Breyers Premium Ice Cream, $22.99 each. Pepperidge Farm Cakes, $14.99. Nestle 6-pack flavored water, just $6.99 each. And now our very low weekly
Value deals! Essential everyday pasta, $2.99. Boost drink, $7.99. Essential everyday fries, $10.99. Colgate toothpaste, $5.99. IGA Essential everyday pasta sauce, $7.99. Mueller's pasta, $5.99. Shop smart, shop value mart. Joan, en español.
sea listo y haga sus compras aquí a
Value Mart.
Welcome back to the Voices, and Chris Collins wants to know when about good old days. We go back to the phone lines. Caller, you're live on Voices. Welcome to the program. Hello there, caller. You're live on Voices.
Good afternoon, Socrates.
Good afternoon, sir. How about thou?
Yes, I'm good.
Beautiful.
Listening to you when you came back on this afternoon, I thought it's about time we solve that problem of water coming down Carey Street gut.
Okay.
You know, the water can be easily diverted to the Pons Nismus area where our aquifer is. Okay? And it can be part of a project actually to ease parking in the Bastia area, the central Bastia area.
Yes.
You realize that most of the road is wide enough to accommodate a multi-story parking facility if the flooding problem is solved. You know, especially on this side where, you know, where the stone wall is.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I think that would then give access. Once we put a road, you know, to basically on the level of the homes that are on that side, it will give them more access to things like emergency vehicles and you know, those kinds of things. Okay? And
have you had this discussion with anyone before?
Not that I recall.
Okay.
Okay, I recall mentioning that the water should be diverted from coming down the gut to Pons Nismus before, but the multi-story level, I mean, realize right now, lots of people park in the gut to do business downtown. Okay, that's one of the areas for parking. But if we can put a multi-story parking facility there, it would give the residents on that side of the gut access to a road. You realize? And we can even connect Seaton Street, where the Methodist Church is.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. Yeah, yes.
Right, we can connect that so that there's another, it doesn't become a dead end, but there's another route out, into and out of Seaton Street. Okay? And we can do the same thing with an access road from College Street gut to Market Street as well. All right, there's an area there. Maybe it's somebody's property, but you know, we all know what eminent domain is.
Yeah.
You know, that it would certainly ease traffic help the flow of traffic in that area if we did something like that. You know.
Obviously, there's a need for such development, and it takes a person like yourself to point out this thing that we overlook, because with that flooding area, if it's a once-in-a-while thing, there's no sense of urgency to address it. But as you said, if you can look at the engineering challenges, what it would take to divert that flow of water to the aquifer, that would be a major, major plus.
No,
Is there a need for it? That's the whole thing. Is there a need for it? Yeah, the wants and need. What do you think?
Well, I mean, when we look at the amount of water that comes pouring down College Street, you know, you think it's a waste. It's just going into the sea, just like that. You know, when it can be diverted to an area that, you know, like the aquifer, you know, to help feed the aquifer, right? Just a thought.
Just a thought. It's good.
You know,
it's good.
You see, remember too that there's the railway. There is the railway line that went to the factory. They can that's unused right now. They can use that as a conduit between College Street Gut and the Pons Neesmos area.
Okay.
You know, I'm sure the engineers can come up with something. Just a thought. Now, listening this morning to you, Mr. Parry, I think it's high time that an official record of our history be commissioned. One that can be taught in schools, an accurate, unbiased account of events such as the 93 disturbances, the Anguilla Revolution, you know, the 10th of June, those kinds of things, which are very controversial.
Isn't the 10th of June and Anguilla thing the same thing?
Huh?
Is the 10th of June and the Anguilla Revolution the same thing?
Yeah, they may be connected, but some may argue no. But anyway, exactly, right? But there should be an official record. I mean, this is needed for future generations and for posterity generally. Okay, one of the reasons I think we have so much hostility and tribalism, why that persists, is that our history is colored by our politics.
Very much
right?
so.
And it depends too much on who you talk to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, surely we can commission a group of historians and get an accurate and an official record before a lot of those who can tell us exactly what happened pass on. Okay?
Yes, we would also have to highlight the 20 years of selective history. 20 years of...
Why restrict it to 20? Why not...
No. I'm referring to the 20 years of selective history where students in school had no idea who Dr. Simmons was and his contribution.
Sure.
All that part of it.
I'm saying don't restrict
the
it to that.
Christina disaster.
Do not restrict it. You see,
no, I say it should be all part of it. I'm not restricting it to that. I say it should be part of it. So as you're highlighting certain things, that too.
Of course.
Also the true accounting of the Christina disaster and who was responsible.
Of course, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have too many people wanting to revise history to suit their agenda.
That is true.
You know, right, Mrs. Henry?
This is my first and best laugh for the entire day.
Seriously, right? I mean, before we deal with matters of geopolitics and theology and conspiracy theories and so on, we need to look at ourselves, okay? How we have related to each other in the past, how we relate to each other now, so that we can do better in the future. I mean, that's the whole object of an exercise like this.
Quite so.
Okay? Because right now, it depends so much on who you talk to, and history should not be like that. Right? We
should not be selective.
We certainly can base our history on facts. Okay? Established facts.
Would you like to be part of that panel?
I wouldn't mind, such as I think I have enough years to be able to
make a contribution,
give an account of things that had happened, at least from my perspective. but it should not be any one or 2 or 3 or 4 persons. This should be a big effort that encompasses as many people as possible so that we get some kind of accuracy and come to some sense of
getting Sister Henry and Elder Clark on the same page.
Consensus, that is the thing.
Of getting Sister Henry and Elder Clark on the same page. Think that's possible?
Why not? Things happened, okay? And you can't tell me that you can't get different accounts of what happened and come to an assessment of what really happened. We can arrive at some consensus. Don't tell me we can't do this. If we can't do this, we're wasting time talking about going back to Africa and our roots and those kinds of things.
You're so right.
You know?
You're so right. It bothers me to see that these two persons sometimes, not only because younger folks are listening, I want to learn from them. I look up to and respect them. But the anger that sometimes comes out of their discourse is not really encouraging.
Yes, exactly.
These are elders that we need to look up to and be reverent.
That's why we need an official record, okay? An official record. Sure, I mean, the two of them can contribute to that record as well, okay? Based on their experience and what they observe. And, well, obviously it's going to be colored by their ideology and thinking and so on.
Correct.
Mr. Clark is more socialist and left-wing, and Mrs. Henry is definitely more conservative and right-wing. Okay?
Hold a second. Are they in the call on the line there?
But there can be a meeting of minds, I think.
Okay. Here's I'm going to try to get your opinion on the march yesterday, the demonstration. There are no calls there, so I'm going to entertain you if you care to comment on yesterday's march, so to speak.
Well, first of all, right, two of the hardest things to happen in this world is for the empowered to give up power and the entitled to give up the entitlement. Tough things to do, right?
Okay,
and
we'll go with that.
Is like at the start of the pandemic, when everyone was scared, nobody knew what would happen, and so we made some decisions out of fear and ignorance, right? That on hindsight, you know, they say hindsight is 2020. But on hindsight, they seem to have been excessive and unnecessary.
Okay.
I don't think it was based on just the information we knew then. Okay. People made decisions without empathy and without, you know, looking at what the persons who are going to be affected. I call them victims, that's what they are, what they would be going through. It was just out of self-interest, okay?
Are you referring to the folks
we have now had some time to reflect, okay, and reassess. And I've heard some people say that an apology should be demanded from those employers who dismiss their workers for not taking the thing. I think it goes beyond that. There should be redress for those who, like I said, I call the victims.
Okay.
Right? And we had a labor department that had this strange stance of being an arbiter, saying that basically they're the honest brokers between the Chamber of Industry and Commerce and the workers. The Chamber of Industry and Commerce is a powerful group. They can defend their interests. The workers here in our environment, in the absence of strong unions, should have been defended by the Labor Department. No question. Right?
But the CIC,
particularly galling,
the CIC was of the same view that if you didn't choose the vaccination, that you pose a threat to the workspace.
Well, no, but there were alternatives to it. Okay, testing for the employers, for instance, not at the expense of the
employees.
The employees, not at the expense of the employees, but test them. Okay, there was that option. All right. And like I said, what is particularly galling is that while the government was busy siding with the employers, you know, who essentially had mandatory vaccination policy.
It was a national policy.
The government themselves was not implementing this no job policy.
No, they were not.
Can you imagine such hypocrisy? That's double standard.
So then if a
Right?
private entity was doing so, what the government supposed to tell them they can't?
First of all, the government should have set the tone, right? The government should have set the tone.
No job, no
And
job?
of course, the government could have influenced what the private sector entities did, right? The government encouraged them to do this, to follow that policy. Okay.
Wasn't this being mirrored around the region?
Thing about it. Why wouldn't the government employ such a strategy for its own employers?
Wasn't this being mirrored around the region? Look at St. Vincent and Antigua. They all took the similar stance.
So what?
It's not so what. It
we
seemed to
should
be
adapt
according to
the
the
same
thinking of the day.
But I'm saying exactly. So
Okay.
what I'm saying is we've had time to reassess, etc.
Okay.
And these people who are affected should have some kind of redress. And
Okay, I encourage you further, but please let me take this call, sir. I appreciate that, and I love talking to you, but
just one final thing.
Please.
I think it was because it was politics more than anything else that they were thinking of, right?
All right.
Those who supported the campaigns as opposed to what the voters would think. That is what governed the policy back then. And it was unfortunate, but we should rethink.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, is the call still there? Caller, you're live. Thank you for holding. You're live on Voices.
Good day, Mr. Sakoti.
Good afternoon, sir.
He is speaking concerning who vax and who ain't take vax and what
You did not hear me speaking about who vax, who ain't takes vax. You did not hear that.
No, the general, when the guy was speaking, let's not get into that.
I engaged him to give me a view on the match yesterday, and I let him speak about his thoughts, his opinion. You didn't hear me speak about who vax, who ain't vax.
Sakoti.
Yes, sir.
Let us move on, sir.
Right.
Concerning the vaccine in this country, because I was one whose TDC fired. Okay?
Understood.
Let's look at the whole situation. Didn't the government pay a double salary this Christmas?
That is known to all, yes.
Okay, good. Did the non-vax got a double?
I don't know if they went the... What are you saying? Okay. They paid a double salary to the civil service. People in civil service, yeah.
Right, so everybody got the double, the vax and the non-vax.
Yes.
Good. Did the government say people who ain't taking the vaccine mustn't come in the government institution to work?
I don't know. I have heard them.
Okay, good. So then how come...
Within the prison, there was an issue within the prison that there were folks working there who were unvaccinated, and that caused that spread in the prison. So I know that happened.
What are you talking about, Mr. What?
No, in the prison there were some employees that said who were not vaccinated, and that caused the corona to spread in the prison.
Where is that? In TDC or in private sector?
Here in St. Kitts in the prison.
No. I'm not talking about the prison. Listen to the question I'm asking you, sir.
Go ahead.
Listen to the question. Don't just ask what I'm saying. I'm saying to you, the government paid a double salary, and Timothy did not say to the country that all who did not take the vaccine would not get the double. So everybody got. Just let me speak for a minute.
Quite so.
Good. So everybody got. Good. He also said on the mic to the private sector, this is where we're going to go. Everybody have to take the vaccine. So the private sector decided to do what they had to do. Okay?
Yep.
All we were saying to the private, to our bosses in our company, boss, we don't want to take the vaccine, but there's other alternatives. Okay?
Yes, sir.
They said to us, oh, well, we got to take a test every 2 weeks and this and that. How poor people...
At your expense.
Hold on, Sakoti. How poor people going to be able to pay for a test every 2 weeks? We have a government who's supposed to represent the people. It's all about a discussion, Mr. Sakoti. The government did not do absolutely nothing to help the people in the private sector. Okay? So we were left at the mercy of the companies in these private sectors. When I believe the government made the statement, that statement should have never come. We should have sit down, dialogue on the way forward to help the citizens. Mayor Martley did that to the people. But instead, you said no job, no job. That, for me, was very distasteful. Okay, Mr. Sakoti?
I'm listening.
Fast forward. Let's fast forward, Mr. Sakuti. We had a cricket tournament here just concluded on the 19th. The government funded bill for the players who got tested in the under 19. During December, after the carnival, we heard the government say that people could come and get free COVID testing. Do you remember that?
Free COVID testing?
What the government said the other day.
Okay, go ahead.
Good. So all of these funding was paid for all these people from overseas and everything else. Why we couldn't sit down and negotiate to help the workers, the poor people in this country who's working, instead of force them into something what they don't want to do. But at the end of the day, based on what he said, I expect Timothy to also say then all the government institutions must take the vaccine. But he didn't go down the road for them. He went down the road for the private sector. And my friend said to you, sir, in December, we paid a double salary we paid. Well, let's fast forward now. All we are saying to TBC, why, since you give us the letter so we're fired with immediate effect, under some section 7, I don't know what that is. At the same time, why they couldn't do us our money for the labor department? What was the hold back? When people work with you for 25, 30 years, and these other years, where's your passion?
Compassion.
Where's your heart for the people who serve you all these years? But Sakuti, the unvax could go into TDC. Now we have a spread in December. Who did the spread, Sakuti? The unvax? They say the spread in December came from people who went to this show and that show. Well, let me ask a question, Mr. Sakuti. Because the Prime Minister said he was keeping us safe. Last year, you could recall all of these, keep us safe and keep us safe.
Yes, I was with the programs.
Mr. Sakuti, let's say the Omicron was lethal. What would happen to our country? Based on what Timothy and the government did to throw back the country. Let's hear him again. Let's say the Omicron was
in very bad shape.
Sakuti. Hello?
We would have been in very bad shape.
Good. So who is irresponsible? The unvaxxed people or the people in charge of the country? You see, you understand what I'm saying to you, Mr. Sakuti?
I'm listening to you, sir.
Barbados Prime Minister said, nobody's going to mash up the country. So all we're saying, Mr. Sakuti, people who take the vaccine had COVID. People who ain't take the vaccine still get COVID. People who take the vaccine dead. People who ain't take the vaccine dead. So where are we going? Where are we jumping? Think it belongs to us. We must have our own little ideas in going forward. We must to jump in following the outer world. But look today, England is saying from. This one went back England. She got the result 2 weeks after she done reach home. England let the people come out here and walk with their own test to send back. So they're not be spending a lot of money. We was looking at the bigger picture, Sakuti. Everybody's saying, I never take the test. If I don't want to work, this is a private company. Well, let's deal with the private part now, Mr. Sakuti. Let me ask you a question. I have a son. He's my son. Do I be able to kill him? The government will lock me up. So how TDC, because a private company, could do as they like? We have to look at what we are saying to people. Timothy Harris should have been responsible for us. Step in and be responsible. You can't, because he led the charge in that the companies must go after us. So today, as the man told you earlier, the companies now need to apologize to all these people. And they say it, people now start to say it, because they start to realize what happened to us was wrong. You say we are masked, you say sanitize.
Well, it comes down to you being able to galvanize enough interest to push back, because the CIC was also pushing that policy and asking these companies, whether Rams, TDC, to implement that policy. I also know that from, I don't want to call the name, but other companies send home workers under the same understanding. If you didn't take the vaccination, you went home.
But Sakuti, it came from one voice. the leader of this country took the mic and he said, this is where we have to go. The private sector have to do this. Let's say he did not say that.
So you're saying that they were guided by him?
Huh?
You're saying that they were guided by him?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
That is clear. That's all we're saying, sir. All I'm saying to you, if Timothy did not make that statement, then I would have said, boy, how Timothy could do as a light. But Timothy was guided by him. This was his word. This is where you have to go. The private sector has to make sure they staff facts. But in another breath, you're still saying you ain't making it mandatory. When the citizen can tell me the other option is cook, you either take the vaccine, you got your job. If you don't take the vaccine, you don't have a job. It's mandatory, technically.
My issue with that, right? Because I saw 2 other workers in the march yesterday. One is a Calypsonian, and when he mentioned how many years he worked there and just sent home with short days' notice and, all the many years, some sort of enumeration should have been considered in the package. That's my position.
That's all I'm saying, Socrates. Socrates, let me tell you, let the world listen again. I was not just an ordinary worker. 25 years, Socrates. Let the world listen. My record in TDC, no late, no absent. Nobody ever called TDC and said, this was rude. Nothing on the record is clean. But yet you don't have no conscience to say, boy, how are we going to treat these people so? The cashier, Danny, B, all of us, the 50-something of us. When they used to say, quote, you know how much time, Socrates, when TDC closed down, I'm at the airport till 1 o'clock in the night. Got to get up 6 o'clock in the morning to go back to do the work. I never once lay a job short.
Well,
was doing what I have to do.
I would encourage you and the others who've been aggrieved and been wronged, use whatever redress you have, or you can muster to get some sort of justice.
Well, we're doing that. So you see the world needs the law has got a part to do.
Mm-hmm.
But the world also has to know what is going on. I don't have no beef with TDC. I can't fight TDC for coming in the place. All I'm saying to them, what they did to us should have been a little bit more different, a little bit more respect.
A little more compassionate.
Thank you. I never disrespect TDC. Secretary is serious about my work. I'm never going to in a TDC shirt. I always take off the clothes because I used to say if I'm going to and anything happen, they don't want nobody see me in the company clothes.
Okay.
I don't go up in the boss office for nothing. Most of the people that constitution. When I go up in the boss, he calls me for something to talk about. I don't get in nothing when I'm walking. So all I'm saying to TDC, rethink, organize yourself. A discussion could happen. We were all asking for give us our money, sign up the paper so we can get the money from the Labor Department, what is due to us. We're not in any fight with UTBC, but we're going to fight if nobody does nothing to us. The Prime Minister, please get involved. Because you see, when I talk about it, get involved, the boss. Because that's for the ego.
Mr. Cook.
Just talking in tongue. The world need to know.
Mr. Cook.
Just in tongue talking, concerning a lot of things.
Mr. Cook.
We need to let the ego people.
Mr. Cook.
Things it belongs to all of us, the boss.
Mr. Cook, I have another call on the line. I would advise you continue what you're doing. Make sure you get the justice that you seek, okay?
Yes, it's a pleasure. Nice speaking to you.
Right, no problem. Caller, you're live on Voices. Thanks for holding. Good day, caller. Are you there?
Yeah, but I thought nobody else would have yet in.
Good afternoon, sir. You're on.
Good afternoon. I can't tell you on your program, but I want to ask you something.
All right, sir.
Still have bar shops in St. Kitts and Nevis?
They do?
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where any is, but governments don't run like bar shops, And you got some people got that kind of idea.
That government want like a bar shop?
Want the government to be run like a bar shop.
Okay.
Government can run so.
Make your point. Go ahead. You got it, Mike.
I want to ask you. Hold on, actually, you answer long. Okay. By the way, let me just break a little bit and say, I would like to send out two good friends of mine passed away in Sunny Point. They said this fella, Kenneth Isaac, and the guy used to work water services. He used to be a well expert, a water drilling expert.
Can't bring the person to mind,
Right.
but go ahead.
I can't remember his name. And they're my good friends, yeah. Anyway, I want to make I don't know if I can make a suggestion to you.
Go ahead,
when
sir.
you're hosting the program, you could bring on the same Curtis Cook. Every radio station I turn to having talk show, another show here and Matt Mahan. So I told them to come on with you.
It's called Voices.
I know, but I don't want to say, and I don't know if you could do it. I'm telling you to do it because I can't.
They're welcome to, if they want to get on the program. I'm not on every day. If you get a call, I would like to be on your program. I'll let management know these persons were my guests for whatever particular day. There's no issue. There's no.
When you're hosting, they could be on.
Sure.
Well, okay, let me run on quick and I'm done now.
Okay.
Do you know? Well, you were saying something about writing the history. Until the Labour Party, or whoever write the history about the Labour Party, begin with, well, in a prominent way, this man from Sandy Point.
Which one?
He's half-white man. So he was, in my opinion, he was supposed to be the first national hero.
You talking about
started the Labour movement.
Manchester?
Thomas Manchester.
Yep.
Thomas, that one ironing out, roll out like when they make steel sheeting. One roll out.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I never ever heard all class. As much historian as he is, as however, and Miss Henry. I ain't criticizing them, but, and others. Stanley Franks, Jr., my good friend. I never hear them mention nothing about a 6-week strike there was in the sugar industry in 1969. You could check it out yourself.
Okay.
You see the man from Challengers calling. I was involved in the strike. Me and Lassie Rollins and others.
Edgar Challenger?
And I'm a challenger?
No, are you referring to Mr. Edgar Challenger?
No, I'm from Challengers.
Okay, sorry.
But Edgar Challenger. You see, when you want to meet and discuss a couple of things, and I learned something recently about Edgar Challenger and some relatives. But I'm going into that now. If I meet you up one day there. But I want to hear them talk about this 6-week strike. That need to encompass and included in the history there. Don't know Dr. Joe ever know or Douglas ever know. They must tell the truth. Is the truth you want to know?
Okay.
Yeah, have a good day. Go on.
Jerome Pin is the name that you're looking for.
Yes, sir. Yes.
I just got it from Navigator. He just texted me to say that Jerome Pin is the name you're looking for. So, thank you, Navigator. We're going to pause at the time for a word from our sponsors and be right back with you.
Horsewood's Building and Nevis Centers continues to make your lawn and gardening easy. Go to Horsewood's Building and Nevis Center now and get 25% off store-wide on the entire lawn and garden equipment. Yes, for the months of February and March, Horsewood's Building Center and Nevis Center is making improving your lawn and garden easy with 25% off garden supplies, garden equipment, garden accessories, including weed eaters, lawnmowers, and much more. Get 25% off all lawn and garden items happening now at Horsewood's Building Center in St. Kitts and Nevis. Horsewood's Building and Nevis Centers, making home improvement easy. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
Supermarket shoppers understand that convenience matters. At Hortsport's Value Mart IGA, we know that price matters most. Ample parking and the widest variety matter. At Hortsport's Value Mart IGA, we know that price matters most. Clean, spacious aisles and the highest level of customer service all matter. At Hortsport's Value Mart IGA, price matters most. We've renewed our commitment to guarantee the lowest prices in the Federation. Why? Because we understand that in this tough economic environment, price matters most. Shop smart. Shop Value Mart, where price matters most. Farms Estate Nevis and Wellington Road, St. Kitts.
Price matters most.
At 22 minutes past the hour, we are back with Voices, and there's a call on the line as we speak. Caller, you're live on Voices.
Yeah, Secretary.
Yes, sir.
That's me again. I thought you would have asked the caller what he mean by when he said the government does not run like a bar shop. I thought you would have asked him. Because you see, Secretary, a lot of us in this country taking seriousness and making it a joke. I know you heard the news this week that a farmer, Miss America, had it all.
That is correct.
And you see what she did.
Mm-hmm.
My friend who just called, this situation is no joke. People are hurting and hurting deep. Depression is real. It's time when some of us as a people must put ourselves in people's position and stop being so selfish. I said to you today, Secretary, I stand today for speaking domestic politics. We had a good conversation. And we're going to surprise a lot of people to hear this. Because he said Timothy Cook behind, you know. Whatever, but we got to understand. Secretary, it's about our country. It's about our people. Politicians go and politicians come. And you hear me say it. Dr. Drew can't give me the same stupidness. Congress can't give me the same stupidness. But I'm a labor. I haven't said openly. I'm just doing the foolishness and arguing with them. Nothing wrong with that. I have children. Secretary, I remember the day when I came home and they took an airport ID. My son looked at me today. He watched me in the face. Because he see how I had looked that day.
Distressed.
No reason. And he's 16. He lives in the 53. How you think you're going to grow up for the rest of your life? What you think can be on your mind? Then we wonder sometimes why the children then go off the boil. Because we don't realize we're the one that creates some of our children to go off the boil. Because we see his daddy work hard for years. But he come home a day, looking at his daddy's face, and nothing he could do. Because he was young. But you know what happened. Let us stop playing with this thing called depression and playing with our people. It is no joke. People are begging you guys. Some of us defending and laughing and joking. Let us stop people. Because today for you, tomorrow for me, as I would say, we need to understand we all are people. Something happened there, the secretary may not call the person's name. I can remember when I was protesting a year, last year, a lady looked at me and she said to me, you don't have to talk to stressing up yourself. And she going out, big unity woman. Guess what? I made to understand she got a stroke. When I saw her yesterday, I couldn't believe. I said, stop wish bad on people, lady. But she's not stressing, so how she get the stroke?
Life.
She's stressing. So we got to love our people, Secretary. Let us know each other. Let us look what is going on around us as a people. This is not the time for us. People must be passionate about what happening to them. People have feelings. So someone should be so, when you're so angry. Secretary never got past the jail before. I never get in trouble before. So you must be angry to see what is leaking out to you for no reason. We talk about the Buckers riot. We believe in today a black leader, black governor, black everything, and our people going through this. People, stop play. Look what happened to the lady in the United States of America. She had it all, but she couldn't take it anymore. People, let us be aware what is going on around us with our politicians. Could you have a good day?
Same to you, sir. We live in a very small society. Okay, let's take this call. Call the 11 voices. Hello?
Sacco.
Are you there, sir?
Yes, the king.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
How are you doing?
I'm enjoying a wonderful day.
Have you checked out Turkey yet?
No. No.
Anyway, all your clock. I know you don't have much time, eh?
Appreciate that.
Yeah, all your clock when you had Mr. Parry, the guest you're speaking with, and you all went back, and our black Caribbean brothers and sisters move away from our culture.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the first thing I noticed that we moved away from the tree stone.
Yeah.
On the tree stone.
We got modern.
Right, and then we went to
The coal pot.
stove with a lantern.
The pump stove.
No, not the pump stove yet. Yeah, one had a chimney, and it had a glass so you could look through and see the flame. A single burner.
Okay.
And then we move up to the pump stove.
Mm-hmm.
And then we move from the pump stove. We went up to the big bottle oil stove from one burner to up to 4 burners.
Mm-hmm.
Then we moved from that and we went to a table gas stove.
Table model, yes.
Right. Then we moved from that and we went to the big four burner with the oven.
I recall a little bit from Kawaja.
You went way back, man.
Mm-hmm.
And then now look at it now. We put down that. And if you light up a coal pot with coals, and you put on a gallon of water in a pot, and you put that in the coal pot with the coals,
Mm-hmm.
and you put a gallon of water in what they call a microdet. What you call it that? Microwave.
Microwave. Mm-hmm.
Right. And you set the microwave, the 1 gallon of water to 1 minute, 60 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to tell me that 1 minute they're going to bubble up the water so quick. And the 1 gallon out on the coal is going to take so long to boil up.
Technology advancement.
But I'm going to tell you something. When I was living in St. Thomas, just before I went back up Alaska to live, I was living upstairs, an apartment, and the owner of the apartment was a husband and wife and the son. And the son was working as a radiologist in St. Thomas Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So he come up with me one night. He said, "Brother, just come check you, see what you doing." When he come in, he saw a microwave. He said, "What you doing with that in here?" I said, "What you mean?" He said that. I said, "What you mean?" But my friend, them gone back America, a white couple, they gone back up New York and they give it to me. So he explained to me, he said, if you have to go on in an X-ray room every day, 365 days a week, I mean 365 days a year for an X-ray, he said, I will die 10 times quicker than if I don't have an X-ray.
Because?
The radiation.
Mm-hmm. You're extracting that deal once it's in your home.
Okay then. And he said, what do you think does hot up your food in that deal? He said, radiation.
Radiation, yeah.
I said, okay, brother, thank you. You know more than me about the human body. And I take it up.
And the
I
appliance.
went down the road and I rest it on top a big roll off garbage bin. I said, I ain't gonna mash it up. Who want it? Take it up. I'm not giving it to nobody. And from that, I stopped eating food and jet plane when they go in America.
Because they microwave them.
Yeah.
Okay.
One day I going on the plane and I said, wait, everybody food laying a steam and a stove in there.
We're about to wrap up. I do appreciate the humor at the end of the day, but it's very informative. It's educational about the microwave or what it does to our bodies. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah. Let me leave this with you.
Quickly.
Cut your hair every day.
Every morning, yes.
Every morning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you don't get a haircut.
Have yourself a wonderful one, okay? It's Friday. Thank you, sir. The 4th of February. And we are in Black History Month. We want to thank our guests for today, the Honorable Mr. Joseph Parry, for what he shared with us as relates to our people, our history, and, the development in the region. I want to thank the many callers who made a contribution to this program. Without you, it's not possible. And believe me that we do look forward for your calls and interaction. So until Monday, perhaps, my name is Socrates. I want to wish you a most wonderful weekend. To you and your families, stay safe. From the studios of WINN FM, have yourself a wonderful one.
Get your property properly covered today. Constructing your dream house or considering renovating your property? We will make sure your property is properly covered at Guardian General Insurance. Yes, at Guardian General